On a desolate stretch of highway, where the only light came from the moon casting long skeletal shadows of trees, a truck driver named Leo navigated the familiar loneliness of his nightly route. The air was thick with a biting chill that seeped through the cracks of his cab, a constant companion on these long hauls. The rhythmic hum of the engine and the soft crackle of the radio were the only sounds breaking the profound silence of the open road. His world was a cocoon of worn leather seats, the faint scent of coffee, and the endless ribbon of asphalt illuminated by his powerful headlights. It was a life of routine, of miles counted and deadlines met, a solitary existence that he had long grown accustomed to. The landscape outside was a blur of darkness, a monotonous backdrop to his thoughts, which drifted aimlessly between past deliveries and future destinations. One particular night, as his truck rumbled through the sleeping countryside, a flicker of movement at the edge of his vision broke the hypnotic rhythm of the drive. It was something small, something out of place against the dark silhouette of the wilderness. A cardboard box, partially hidden in the tall frost-kissed grass by the roadside, sat starkly under the cold starlight. Curiosity, a feeling long dormant on these predictable journeys, tugged at him. Most drivers would have pressed on, dismissing it as road debris, but a strange, insistent pull compelled Leo to slow his massive vehicle. With a hiss of air brakes, the truck came to a halt, its headlights cutting a brilliant, unwavering path through the darkness, directly onto the mysterious object. He switched on his hazard lights, their amber flashes pulsing rhythmically into the night, and stepped out into the frigid air, a sense of unease and intrigue mingling within him. As Leo approached, the crunch of gravel under his heavy boots seemed unnaturally loud in the enveloping quiet. The box was battered, its edges softened by moisture, looking utterly abandoned. He directed the powerful beam of his truck's headlights to pierce the gloom inside, preparing himself for anything, discarded trash perhaps, or something less mundane. What he saw, however, made his breath catch in his throat. Huddled together in a trembling pile were not one, but several tiny puppies, their fur matted and their bodies shaking uncontrollably from a combination of fear and the relentless cold. Their eyes, wide and glistening in the harsh light, reflected a desperate vulnerability that struck a deep, resonant chord within him. They were so small, so fragile, whimpering softly as they pressed against one another for a warmth that was quickly fading. The sight was a stark, heartbreaking contrast to the harsh, indifferent landscape around them. An immediate, overwhelming wave of tenderness and responsibility washed over Leo, eclipsing the weariness of his long drive. He couldn't just leave them there to face the elements. Carefully he knelt down, his large, calloused hands moving with a gentleness that belied his rugged exterior. He unzipped his thick, fleece-lined jacket, the same one that had shielded him from countless cold nights, and carefully scooped the shivering puppies into its folds. They were lighter than he expected, their tiny bodies feeling fragile and precious against his chest. He could feel their frantic, rapid heartbeats through the fabric. Back in the warmth of his truck's cab, he improvised a makeshift nest on the passenger seat, using a soft blanket he kept for emergencies. He gently placed them inside, watching as they instinctively burrowed into the plush material, their whimpers slowly subsiding as the cab's heater began to chase away the chill. A profound sense of purpose settled over him. This night was no longer just another routine drive. Throughout the remainder of his journey, Leo found his attention constantly drifting to his tiny, unexpected passengers. He watched them with a quiet fascination, his gaze softening each time he glanced over. As the warmth of the truck enveloped them, their shivering ceased, and they began to stir with newfound energy. One brave puppy, a little bolder than the rest, cautiously lifted its head and looked at him with dark, inquisitive eyes, its tail giving a tentative wag. A small, genuine smile touched Leo's lips for the first time that night. He reached over and gently stroked its head with a single finger, a silent promise of safety and care. He shared his water, pouring it into a bottle cap for them to drink, and broke off small pieces of his sandwich, which they devoured with surprising gusto. The cab, once a space of solitude, was now filled with the soft sounds of their movements and the palpable aura of their growing trust. With every mile that passed, Leo felt a subtle but significant shift within himself. The monotonous drone of the engine now seemed like a protective hum, and the enclosed space of the cab felt less like a cage and more like a sanctuary. He was no longer just a driver hauling cargo. He was a guardian, a protector of these small, vulnerable lives. The deep-seated loneliness that often accompanied him on these long, dark roads began to dissipate, replaced by a profound sense of connection and an unfamiliar warmth that had nothing to do with the truck's heater. He realized with a startling clarity that in the act of saving them, they were also, in a way, saving him. They had interrupted the relentless cycle of his routine, infusing his solitary world with an unexpected dose of life, purpose, and unadulterated innocence. The night, once just another obstacle to overcome, had transformed into a pivotal, life-altering experience. Finally, as the first hints of dawn painted the eastern sky in shades of gray and pink, Leo pulled his truck into the driveway of his quiet, modest home. The journey was over, but a new one was just beginning. He carefully carried the makeshift nest of puppies inside, their sleepy, contented forms a stark contrast to the trembling creatures he had found just hours before. As he watched them explore their new, safe surroundings, a decision solidified in his heart. He knew he couldn't keep them all, but he also knew he couldn't part with the one who had first looked at him with such trusting eyes. He decided to adopt the brave little puppy, a constant reminder of the night his life had taken an unexpected turn. He named him Asa, a name he had once heard meant hope or healer, a fitting symbol of the new beginning they had both been granted on that cold, deserted road. This is a story of profound empathy, of a sudden life-altering transformation, and of the powerful, unexpected bonds that can form in the most unlikely of circumstances, reminding us that a single act of kindness can change not just one life, but two.